Today, I'm going to show you the MidNite All-in-One inverter with the MidNite MNPowerflo16 battery. We're going to be going through the entire installation of this from unboxing all the way through to programming and commissioning. So this is just the first part in a multi-part series. Be sure to subscribe so that you're alerted when future videos come out. Today, we're going to work on unboxing. Then we're going to show you how to install it step by step, keeping in mind safety, UL compliance, National Electrical Code, doing everything by the books. Once we have the inverter all wired up, we're going to do some rigorous tests and see if this thing can hold its own. Be sure if you have any questions throughout the video to post them into the comments. What I like about MidNite is I cut my teeth on that equipment when I started over 15 years ago now. They were already a really well-established company that was dominating the off-grid market. It was the industry standard, you know. The folks who started MidNite Solar, Robin and Bobby Gudgel. Robin was designing nuclear launch switches for the military, while his brother Bob, him and his friends figured out you could use a Captain Crunch whistle to make free telephone calls to anywhere in the world. They're brilliant engineers, and their equipment has always been incredibly well designed, and their fingerprints are just everywhere in the industry. You can't really look at a piece of solar equipment without seeing something from Robin or Bob in it. What's really cool about the all-in-one inverter is that this is a grid tie inverter, and it's really exciting to see MidNite take a jab at the grid-tied market. All of the MidNite equipment, really, it's been tested for so long and so thoroughly by so many different groups of people that their equipment has been interacting with grid-tied stuff this entire time. So here they have all of this knowledge about battery-based stuff, and they've also been keeping up with grid tie the entire way along. So here they've got the skill set and the knowledge to be able to put together a battery-based inverter that follows all of the requirements for, you know, code compliancy. That's what makes them shine so brightly in the grid-tied world. We're getting beyond the days where you can just have a UL-listed inverter and a UL-listed battery and say, here you go. The new rule per code is that the inverter and the battery have to be listed together. And so MidNite brings that to the table with the all-in-one inverter and the PowerFlow16 battery. So it's time to see what Robin and Bob cooked up in this thing. This is wonderful. Right on the very top, we've got our template. We'll put this on the wall so that we know where our mounting bracket will go with respect to our battery. You can see it's got sticky on the back. I love that they still include a hard copy of the manual because people are looking for it. Sometimes companies stop sending these out. Yeah, this matches the online one. I like all of these wiring diagrams in the back. MidNite's always good about including examples. This next thing here is an outgoing inspection report, which is all of the tests that had to be done on the battery before it could be sent out. And we've got an additional quality control certificate. It's a little triangle. It looks like it might be to hang on something. This is a ground wire. This will almost certainly be an equipment ground in order to bond the metal chassis of the battery frame to all of the rest of the ground network. I can't overstress how important a well-grounded system is. This is the battery to inverter communication cable. Communication cables can be tricky, you guys. There can be a whole bunch of missteps that a person could accidentally make. So just take an extra look at the cable. Battery is this end and inverter is this end. We'll cover that when we install the thing. There's 4 of these. They're Ethernet terminators.
So is this where we have like Arnold Schwarzenegger like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Come on screen.
These are your Terminators. They'll be back. It's used to begin and end a communication network where if you've got more than one in primary, secondary orientation, you would have one on either end of the network, and the resistor in the Terminator allows it to say, okay, I can see the beginning and the end of the communication network. These are concrete expansion bolts. These won't work for our wooden structural members that we're going to be tying into. We're going to be hanging these onto wooden studs. And so, unfortunately, these concrete expansion bolts aren't going to work for our application. These are the battery mounting brackets, and they're very, very heavy. These are super heavy duty. They're powder coated. You can see on these, they've got the holes for the mounting hardware. And then down here, these little holes here are what you use to secure the thing in place. There's Harley. Hey, man.
Hey, did you get my text?
No, I didn't get your text. What does it say?
I'm done. I'm headed out, so I can head on over.
Dude, Harley, you gotta come over and help me with this, dude. That's rad. Oh my God.
This is my brother.
This is my brother, Harley. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you.
Harley came over to help me with this MidNite PowerFlow battery because it weighs like 300 pounds, you guys. Let's get after it.
Let's do it.
Let's see. This is like opening a Christmas present. Wow. There's carry handles on the side. Look at this. Is there two on that side as well? Boy, that's pretty wild. So that would be for like heaving it up and onto its bracket. There we go. Yeah. Boy, that's a heavy duty mount.
Yeah. So it's gonna go like that, and there's your screw holes. So that's where you're gonna screw the base to the battery.
Inside of this top compartment is where you get in and you make all of your connections. We'll open it up here in a minute and look. But on the side, on either side, there's this existing knockout plug, and that's where you're supposed to do your 4-aught battery cables.
What do we got over here? What's this?
Oh yeah, check this out. This is how we would get in and turn the thing on. Yeah.
And then there's your on and off switch.
Look, here's a thing where you're not allowed to get in here. Warranty void if removed.
I like the templates made out of like, it's not like paper, it's like thick rubber.
It's a sticker, dude.
Oh, and this has got your cutouts.
Yeah.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a 3M sticky thing, so you could actually stick it onto the gutter and then really being able to have laser precision.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
This is a factory test report. This is the installation guide and user manual. What's that?
Quick installation guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the light version of this.
Dude, I can't remember. I bought something the other day that was pretty complex and it didn't have any documentation in it. It just had like a little piece of paper that said, go to the website to download the, you know, and this has all that you need. This is the quick install guide and you got the whole manual over there. So that's cool that it comes with everything.
I mentioned that with the battery as well, how excited I was to see a hard copy of the manual. So just like the battery, we've got a factory test report that goes through all of the different tests that it had to go through before it was able to leave. I'm always delighted to see one of these as well. This is a packing list, right? This is how many of what was included. Another quality certificate. Mounting bracket. It's like a version of a French cleat. The inverter will just sit into this channel, hinge down into here, and then it's on this side. You put in the screw to keep it from shifting off. What I notice here is that this thing is incredibly well packaged. Like the guy who designed this, one that egg drop comp
Oh, right.
in science class.
I didn't win.
You
that.
remember
That was
that
not
one?
me.
It's a whole engineering science, yeah, and
Yeah.
all of the pieces and how they fit together. It's very precise. This is our communication dongle. It's got our QR code on there. You get in here, and this way you can scan this, and it'll immediately jump you into the section where you can configure. That's one of the cool things about new pieces of equipment and QR codes. This is a network terminator. This is like the network terminator that were in the battery. There's 4 of them in the battery. There's 1 of them in the inverter. And this is a little waterproof thingamabob.
Right. If this thing is rated for outdoor use, everything needs to keep that in mind. Every wire that's coming out, every screen, can't have something as simple as a terminator being exposed to allow water ingress.
And it's a basic cable gland that's got the rubber grommet and the plastic fins that
just
clamp
like
down onto
just
it.
like on a old school combiner box or something like that. So you can see the seal, the rubber in there, and then when this thread's on there, it compresses it around the wire so no water gets in there. And then this is threaded too. And then that's rubber.
These measure the amount of current that's moving through a wire. These are meant to go around your leg 1 and leg 2 that come from the grid. So you put this on the lines between you and the power company, and it tells your inverter how much power company power you're using. Power is a lot more expensive from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. You can use your CTs to control the amount of power that you're pulling during those times. You can get in and say, look, if I use more than 6,000 watts of grid power at a time, I have to buy it at a more expensive rate.
Yeah.
So you can put these around your utility wires and tell your inverter, I don't ever want to use more than 6,000 watts from the grid. If I try to use more than 6,000 watts from the grid, pull the extra out of the batteries. So the CTs are a really neat tool that give you a lot of advanced flexibility in what the MidNite inverter can do. Grid tie battery backup, right? This is what makes the grid tie battery backup of the MidNite inverter really shine. For this install, we're going to be using an electrical gutter for the bottom of the inverter. And I don't mean an electrical gutter like you would go to the hardware store and go to where they sell downspouts and get something from there. This is a UL listed electrical trough, commonly called a gutter. Traditionally, you would see someone come into the 2-inch knockout with like an LB. That's like a 90-degree conduit fitting. It's with, you could take the back off and pull the wires out and then stuff them up. Well, things can get crowded inside of the inverter compartment. And so doing the gutter beneath the inverter is going to give us a huge amount of free space to be able to work with all of our inverter wires without having to have it be stuffed inside of the inverter box. If you use an electrical gutter, then you can punch the knockouts into your gutter, and then these poke in from the inverter side down through and into the gutter, and it makes a code compliant raceway. You just need to protect the wireway between the bottom of the inverter and the gutter.
And we're not talking about things that are constantly moving and shifting, right?
No, it's never going to move again.
Right, exactly.
Right, so it's just this allows us to attach our gutter onto the inverter without purchasing any conduit fittings. We've got a punch tool for making knockouts. We've got the template that came with the inverter, and so be sure to subscribe so you get to see us do this next time. We're going to make a custom knockout gutter for the MidNite All-in-One inverter, but really, it would be the same procedure for any transformerless inverter to hang a gutter onto the bottom of it, matching up the knockouts and making sure everything lines up. Oh! Toroids. These are a hip new thing, kids. You might have seen some toroids on things before. They block electromagnetic interference from putting high-frequency garbage into your electrical lines. You will find the equivalent of these on like laptop chargers and all sorts of things. This one, this larger one, is for your battery cables. Your battery positive and negative goes through this toroid, and that keeps things quiet. This is an FCC required device. In order to comply with FCC, MidNite and every other transformerless inverter requires these toroids to meet noise emission requirements per FCC. That one's for your battery cables. This one is for your ground connection to your ground rod. So this connects the bracket to the wall. Once you get the inverter in place, this screws into the side to make sure that it doesn't move anymore. I think that's it. And then we're at the inverter. Oh my gosh. Finally. Oh, finally. Ooh. Look at this nice rubber gasket.
I felt it when I opened it.
I know, I heard it. It said punk. There's a lot of familiar things in here for me. These are MidNite breakers. This is super cool that they have all of these integrated, like built in.
The ton of these all-in-one inverters don't have any integrated breakers. You talk about having to go to the hardware store and get a bunch of extra parts. You have to buy all those DC breakers, man.
Ooh, and
Because these aren't regular AC breakers for your load panel at your home. These are directional DC breakers that are 10 times the cost.
Here's our AC input from grid is 100 amps, right? This is a 2-pole breaker. Our AC output also 100 amps, right? So this is our capacity. 100 amps AC at 240 is what we can bring in from the grid and what we can send out to our backed up loads, things we want to stay on when the grid goes down. This is the 300 amp DC battery breaker. This goes between the battery bank and the inverter input. These are our 3 smart load breakers. They're 2-pole breakers, 1, 2, and 3. This first one here is a 60 amp 2-pole breaker. Its default is for a generator input. It can be repurposed via programming to be a smart load breaker, like you could do for an electric vehicle or something like that. This second one is a 30 amp 2-pole smart load breaker. So you could run this to, say, an air conditioner or something that runs on 240 and is in the range of a 30 amp breaker. This last one is a 50 amp 2-pole breaker. It is defaulted for AC coupling input. This is if you want to take a grid-tied inverter and feed it into the output of the MidNite. And you can, in that way, expand your solar capacity by including, for example, a branch circuit of microinverters, or even 2 branch circuits of microinverters that you could land at this 2-pole breaker as an AC coupled input. And then the MidNite can control the Enphase microinverter's ability to be on through what is called a frequency shift or frequency dithering. In an off-grid scenario, it will change its output frequency in order to throttle the grid-tied inverters one way or the other. This is like $500 worth of AC breakers. These 4 breakers over here are just basic 120-volt load breakers. 15 amp single pole, 15 amp single pole, 15 amp single pole, 20 amp single pole. I feel like a lot of people overlook these breakers as a result of how complicated it can be to redirect loads from, say, your main panel or from a sub panel to the inverter. I have a couple of cool tricks for pulling that off. Stay tuned. In one of the future videos, I'm going to teach you how. I'm really impressed with this so far. Let's close this real quick and move on to the top part of the inverter. Up here on the top of the inverter, we've got our display. This upper section here is our PV, battery, grid, backup, communication, and alarm. These are just icons, right? They either light up or they don't light up. If the PV light is on, solar is charging. If the battery light is on, the battery is on. If the battery light is blinking, the battery is charging. Like, there's very basic at a glance things you can get from these light up indicators. Below that and in the middle of the upper part is our graphics display panel. It tells us our solar input voltage and current on the different channels. It tells us our battery voltage and/or state of charge. You can't interact with this display by pushing any of the buttons on the inverter. In fact, there are no buttons on the front of the inverter. On the side of the inverter over there, there's an on-off button. It is the only button on the inverter. So this is a push and hold to turn it on, push and hold to turn it off. And then if you just want to light up the LCD, then you just tap it. Do you think these are...
Yeah, pressure relief valves. As temperature changes, so does pressure. So that's going to be like a little one way to allow air to exit, but not moisture to go in.
That's totally cool. These are lifting handles. You notice they're up here. There's one on the other side and not down here. This weighs like 100 and something pounds. All of that 100 pounds is right here. So when you lift it up, this is actually a very balanced point to lift the entire inverter from. Here's this PV disconnect. This gives us the ability to isolate the solar panel strings coming into the inverter. Oh my God, super smooth and satisfying. Harley, click one of these and feel how satisfying it is.
They're spring loaded. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this one again.
Okay.
This part is spring loaded.
Even if your kid accidentally did that, it wouldn't undo it. You actually have to push a little bit so you wouldn't accidentally.
It's a really nice clasp system. Now, this display doesn't have any buttons here, so you have to connect with your phone. You have to download the MidNite One app to be able to interface with this inverter. You don't have to use the internet. If you choose local login, then it will just connect to a Bluetooth network that's hosted by the inverter. So your phone connects to your inverter like it was a Bluetooth speaker or something. We'll do that in another video. So make sure you subscribe so you can watch us do that next time. And if you have any questions along the way, please be sure to put them down in the comments. I will be happy to answer your questions.